Hello and welcome to the Greater Goods guide on Thordan EX. For those of you watching, I appreciate it, and let's begin. First phase, I would want to let you know that one healer can solo heal this, preferably a white mage or astrologian, and the off healer, which would be a scholar or another astrologian, should also DPS to push maximum DPS. Now, going into this fight, I will explain different mechanics as they come up. So first mechanic is going to be an AoE about a little bit after the pull. It's going to be right under each player. You can just move out of the way and you'll see it here. Now, right after this will be another AoE that's going to look like the Japanese flag in wartime, is how I like to describe it. And in between the lines of the AoE, you can stand either right or left, and it won't hit you. Now, you want to keep that in mind for other phases because each and every one of these mechanics is going to be repeated, okay? Now, you want to maximize DPS in this phase because at either 70% he'll jump and you can skip a whole tank buster really if you end up doing that, or you can actually push farther and you'll see through this fight. Gaze is coming up right after the Dragon's Eye, and you want to look away for each gaze. What will happen is if you don't, you'll you lose control of your character and just run around. Now you see lightning, you want to spread, and then for the next mechanic you want to come stack in a hurry. This is called Dragon's Rage. And it's marked by that huge new marker they added in this patch. It's interesting. So you heal and shield through this. We end up losing the healer on this attempt, but normally you wouldn't, and everyone would be alive. But you keep on going, and this is where Tank Buster comes after this cleave. It's a huge crunch. You want to make sure they are properly healed through that. Next phase is going to be tethers, and you break the tethers almost like, other dungeons you've seen. You have a tether, you break it, and then there's going to be towers. You might want voice communication for this fight because sometimes you'll see someone in your tower and you'll see a tower that's not occupied. You want to hurry up and run in it. Don't freak out. If you do get the paralyze, you want to Asuna that off. On this part, you want to kill Sir Z, or get him to at least under 50%. And I'll show you that there are safe spots on this fight. Now, if you look here, it's right where I'm standing. There's each and every little design around the room is going to be safe for this charge, and you want to keep that in mind. If you're freaking out, just find this safe zone here. Sit here, and then run to the middle. If you're a healer, you want to make sure everyone at least has a regen on or topped off, and possibly a shield. Now, the tanks are going to get tank busters. One tank is going to take Sir J, the other one's going to take Sir A, and they're going to hold them. They're going to swap. One's going to get a Sword Oath, one Shield Oath. Sword Oath one needs the mitigation, some tanks immunity through. And then once these 3 Dragoons come out, it's going to be a marker. Now, this is what the marker looks like, and how we deal with it is we have the first DPS go north, the second one that gets it goes, and another one would go back to where the first DPS went. Now, as you see, they're going to be going. Now, it's very important that you heal the ones that get it, and again, that's where communication is key. If everything's great, DPS is good, you will kill them before the next Holy of Holies comes out, which is what happens on this video. But what the rotation for the guide for the fight is, there's going to be a Holies of Holies right after the Dragoon jumps, and then a Tank Buster right after, and it will just rinse and repeat until both of the ads are dead. Now you come to the middle and you want to go ahead and shield if you want through this, and you'll see that 3 of your party members, or maybe even more, get tethered, and then the others are that will not get tethered at all. So you want to move accordingly. So how we do it is the people that aren't tethered are going to B, which is south. People that are tethered are going to A, and you fan out, you spread out. You do not want to be overlapping on this part at all. And then you go right back to the middle as soon as you possibly can, because you're going to get pushed back. Now you want to have your back facing A, or north, because obviously there's no puddles, and if you get a puddle you'll get a debuff, in which should be Asuna'd as soon as possible. You'll see in this fight that it's reminiscent of T9 with one of the golems who will do these Pac-Man shaped AoEs. You basically will just dodge them and don't worry about the comments that are hitting you, just DPS as hard as you can. We leave one of the meteors, or the things we have to kill, up and make sure everyone's topped off, because it helps build that limit break that you see in the top left. Now, a key thing to note is if people have died during the previous phases, the LB bar looking down here right under Duty Finder will fill up a bit. Over 70, you want everyone to have a huge shield, mitigate, 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 because after this part it's going to be a huge, spicy, raid-wide AoE. So you'll see I shield here and sucker here, but it's only at 60. It's not that big of a deal. This phase, if you're a healer, just make sure there's a regen on, and then just go into DPS stance, because you want to put as much damage as possible. The next part coming out, one of the healers is going to get marked, and they want to position themselves, how we do it, position yourself underneath the boss, and the off tank will be a little bit ahead, and all the other party members will be between the off tank and the healer that's marked. Now, you see Victoria ends up getting the mark here, and as the off healer, you want to drop cleric, drop everything you're doing, because after this mark, and the ad in the middle, you know, kind of does like a T10 charge, if you will, where he charges the party, and the front tank is going to take the most of the damage with that spear there, you see, and we're going to get a healing down. Now what what will heal them would be an Indomitability, Lustrate, Essential Dignity, things that aren't spells. Every other healing spell will not work here. Time it right, because right after it falls off, there's going to be an Ancient Quagga. Now, in my other runs after this, I do virus this Ancient Quagga so it doesn't hurt as badly, but it comes right after. Now, Dragon's Eye comes out, and as the main tank, you want to position the boss where it's facing that eye, so that way your party members, when they're doing mechanics, can run away. Each Knights of a round is usually a mechanic. Now, this mechanic, you look away from the boss, and you have to run towards a tower and stay in it. If you take a hit from the Pac-Man AoE, it's better to go ahead and take that and sit in the tower. You do not want this tower to blow up here. It's usually a wipe because of the paralyze. But that being said, everyone looks away as they're running. The first Pac-Man AoE will go off right with gaze. Then you could kind of position yourself, and then you move away from the red circles, and then you want to meet in the middle. You're going to get that new stacking marker on someone, so you want to stay in the middle, and it's going to push you all the same direction. Sit here, take it, and then there's a cleave right after, so watch it. Here you can DPS and prep for the next mechanic. Now this one is going to be lightning from phase 1, and you're also going to have a tether and a dragon fire dive at the same time. So keep that in mind going into the next phase. That's the round. And then Here it is. Now you just spread out. You can collapse in just for a second to get the heal from your healer, and then tethers move. Now there's going to be a boss that goes through the middle of the stage that will hit you if you're not careful. And there will be the tether, and if you're not far enough away, it will kill you. Dragonfire dive away from the party because that huge AoE with not enough people stacking isn't ideal. This next mechanic is important because it's the very end of the fight where there's gazes. This is probably like one of the last gazes that does come out. But it's going to be where you'll have tethers, and then there'll be Shiva Ices, the Shiva Ice thing, and then meteors. So if you have a meteor hitting you, you see those meteors there, you won't get Shiva, but everyone else will. Now, you want to position yourself in between the marks there, and kind of go back for the heals. Now, this is going to be a healing check where it's going to be Ancient Quagga, in Holiest of Holies. There's going to be another Ancient Quagga right before a Holiest of Holies here. If your DPS is killer, you will kill it usually before the next mechanic that goes out. There's not too much footage of the next mechanic going out. So usually, we usually end up wiping at 1% if that ends up happening. But it's not a wipe, you can still mitigate through it and still do it. But as long as all your DPS is up and you're at like about 15% going into this last phase, you guys can beat it, and can do everything possible to clear this fight. I hope this guide has been helpful. Any questions or comments, please contact me. You can leave a message. Good luck with your endeavors, and we're on the Marlboro server. The FC is called The Greater Good, and I want to do a shout out to my team. Thank you for this clear. It was one of the best Primal fights that I have experienced coming up, and I hope there's more like it. Thanks, guys.